understanding of each other. We're great friends. Now, he's a very...
Dolly Parton's story began in the small rural town of Locust Ridge, Tennessee, on January 19, 1946. She was born into a life of extreme poverty, the fourth of 12 children in a family struggling to make ends meet. Her father, Robert Lee Parton, worked as a sharecropper and construction worker, often toiling in the tobacco fields. However, despite his hard work, the family's financial situation never improved. Their home was a modest one-room cabin with no electricity or running water. The winters were harsh, and the children slept in cramped beds covered in threadbare quilts, the cold often seeping through the walls. Even more painful than the lack of material comforts was the humiliation that came with their poverty. At school, Dolly faced constant ridicule. Her clothes were hand-me-downs or made from scraps, and her shoes had holes that exposed her toes. She often felt ashamed of her circumstances, especially when she saw her classmates dressed in store-bought clothes. Despite these hardships, Dolly's family found solace in music. Her mother, Avie Lee Parton, sang Appalachian ballads while cooking, and her grandfather, a Pentecostal preacher, filled the air with gospel hymns. Music became the one constant in Dolly's life, a form of emotional survival. By the age of 7, Dolly was already writing songs, capturing the emotions of her young heart. At 10, she was performing on local radio, and by 13, she made her debut at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, The Journey to Nashville. At just 18, Dolly Parton left behind the mountains of Tennessee and set her sights on Nashville, a city known for turning raw talent into stardom. After graduating from high school in 1964, Dolly boarded a Greyhound bus with only $20 in her pocket, a guitar slung over her back, and a deep, unwavering belief in her potential. Little did she know, Nashville would be a tough city for dreamers, and success was anything but guaranteed. Nashville was filled with hopefuls just like Dolly, young artists hoping for their big break. As soon as she arrived, the competition hit her hard. Despite her undeniable talent, Dolly faced one rejection after another. Record executives dismissed her, laughing at her distinctive high-pitched voice, her big blonde hair, and her unapologetically bold appearance. They told her she wasn't what they were looking for in country music and suggested she wasn't fit for the industry. But Dolly didn't let rejection define her. Undeterred, she found a cheap, rundown apartment and made do with what little she had. There were nights when all she could afford was ketchup and crackers, but she held on to her dream. With determination, she knocked on every door she could find, singing demos and accepting any odd gigs she could get, even if the pay was next to nothing. Dolly faced criticisms that her voice was too high-pitched, her songwriting too simplistic, and that Nashville didn't need another nobody. But despite all of this, she kept pushing forward, sure that her time would come. The breakthrough. Dumb Blonde and early success. In 1967, Dolly's persistence began to pay off when Monument Records gave her a chance, offering her a contract that, while low-paying and restrictive, was her first real break. Her first single, Dumb Blonde, was released in 1967, and to her surprise, it climbed to number 24 on the country charts. It was a statement, an anthem of sorts, proving that the world was starting to take notice of this determined woman from the Smoky Mountains. However, the success came with its own set of challenges. Monument Records had big plans for Dolly, but they wanted her to fit into a more mainstream, pop-oriented mold. They thought her image could be polished, pushed toward a broader audience, and they began to make demands on her music and presentation. While Dolly was grateful for the exposure, she struggled with the creative control they imposed on her. The label wanted her to be something she wasn't. Less country, more pop. And this tension began to gnaw at her. Though the hits started coming and her songs began to chart, Dolly was still living paycheck to paycheck. The fame she had dreamed of was slowly materializing, but it wasn't exactly the dream she had envisioned. The financial stability and artistic freedom she hoped for remained elusive. Dolly found herself caught between the success she had worked so hard to achieve and the limitations that were now being placed on her creativity. the partnership with Porter Wagoner. As the late 1960s unfolded, Dolly's career took yet another pivotal turn. In 1967, she joined the popular television show The Porter Wagoner Show, which was a hit in Nashville. Porter Wagoner, a well-established country music star, offered Dolly a steady paycheck and national exposure, which were crucial for her career at the time. The show gave Dolly a platform to perform in front of a wide audience and helped her gain recognition, something she had been desperately seeking. But what seemed like a dream come true would soon become a double-edged sword. While Porter was a mentor to Dolly in many ways, their partnership soon began to show its darker side. Porter controlled nearly every aspect of Dolly's career, from her wardrobe and public image to her song choices. As her mentor, he expected her to be loyal to him and his vision for her career. But the more Dolly worked with him, the more she began to feel stifled. She found herself increasingly sidelined in favor of Porter's vision. She was no longer the creative force she had once been, but was instead placed into a role that felt more like that of a sidekick than a fully realized artist. Dolly, however, wasn't one to back down. She had a fire in her that could not be easily extinguished. Despite the tensions in their partnership, her talent continued to shine. Her voice, raw and powerful, resonated with audiences across the country. Her songs began to climb the charts, and her popularity grew. But behind the scenes, Dolly was struggling. Porter's control over her music and image reached a boiling point. Dolly, a gifted songwriter, found that many of her personal songs were rejected in favor of others that she didn't connect with. She felt like she was being forced into a box, unable to fully express herself. Though their professional relationship seemed harmonious to the public, the reality was far from it. Dolly wanted more. She wanted to write her own music, to sing the songs that came from her heart. But Porter, intent on maintaining his vision for her career, often shut those ideas down. This led to constant tension and frustration, and Dolly began to feel increasingly suffocated by the very success she had worked so hard to achieve. Though she loved the opportunity that the Porter Wagoner Show provided, Dolly knew that she had to break free if she wanted to become the artist she was meant to be. The years spent under Porter's control were formative, but they also planted the seeds of resistance. Dolly's desire for artistic freedom grew stronger, and she began to realize that if she didn't take control of her career, she might never truly find her voice. A turning point: breaking free. The struggle to break free from Porter's control eventually reached a turning point. After years of feeling confined, Dolly made a bold decision. She had written a song called "I Will Always Love You" that was not just a love song, but also a declaration of independence. The song was her way of saying goodbye, not just to Porter, but to the limitations he had placed on her. It was an emotional farewell, an acknowledgement of all that he had done for her, but also a recognition that it was time for her to fly on her own. In 1974, Dolly gathered the courage to walk into Porter's office and sing "I Will Always Love You." As she finished the song, she could see that Porter was moved. It was clear that he understood the depth of her decision. Although he didn't want to let her go, he agreed to release her from her contract. But freedom came at a cost. Dolly had to buy back her career, taking on debt and making personal sacrifices to free herself from the contract that had bound her for so long. This moment marked the beginning of a new chapter for Dolly Parton. She had taken control of her destiny and was now free to pursue her music and career on her own terms. It was a painful but necessary step toward becoming the artist she had always known she could be. A new era, embracing independence. The release from Porter's control allowed Dolly to fully embrace her independence. She released "I Will Always Love You" as a single, and the world responded. The song soared to the top of the country charts, staying there for weeks, and it became a cultural touchstone. It wasn't just a hit, it was a message of freedom and self-determination. Dolly's voice, raw and vulnerable, resonated with millions of listeners who understood the power of standing up for oneself, even when it meant saying goodbye to something. or someone important. This success proved that Dolly's talent wasn't just tied to her partnership with Porter Wagoner. She had the ability to stand on her own, and the world was ready to listen. With her newfound freedom, Dolly would go on to release more hits and explore new avenues in her career. She became a global star, known not just for her country music, but for her ability to cross over into pop, film, and even entrepreneurship. In the years that followed, Dolly would build an empire that was the result of her tenacity, her vision, and her unwavering commitment to her craft. She proved that even in an industry that often tries to box you in, the power to break free and define your own path is always within reach. Dolly Parton's journey from the poverty of the Smoky Mountains to international stardom is a testament to the power of resilience, talent, and the courage to be true to oneself. I will always love you. A heartfelt goodbye. The tension between Dolly and Porter came to a head in 1974. After 7 years of struggling with the constraints of their partnership, Dolly made a bold move. She wrote a song called I Will Always Love You as a farewell to Porter. It was a song of gratitude, but also of liberation. The lyrics were deeply personal, an emotional goodbye to the man who had given her a break, but also held her back. Dolly walked into Porter's office and sang the song to him. When she finished, Porter was visibly moved. He agreed to release her from her contract, but it came at a price. Dolly had to buy back her own career, borrowing money and making sacrifices to secure her freedom. A new chapter. Independent success. Breaking free from Porter Wagoner was just the beginning of Dolly's ascent to superstardom. In 1974, Dolly released I Will Always Love You as a single, and it quickly soared to the top of the country charts. The song wasn't just a hit, it became a cultural moment. It was a reflection of Dolly's journey, a reclamation of her voice and her independence. Dolly's success didn't stop there. Throughout the late 1970s and early 1980s, she released several iconic songs that defined her legacy. Jolene, Here You Come Again, and 9 to 5 became chart-topping hits, and Dolly's popularity skyrocketed. In addition to her music career, Dolly ventured into film, starring in the hit movie 9 to 5 alongside Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. The film's theme song became a rallying cry for working-class Americans. The launch of Dollywood. By the mid-1980s, Dolly's career reached new heights. In 1986, she opened Dollywood, a theme park in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. The park was a reflection of Dolly's roots, offering visitors a glimpse into the world that shaped her. It wasn't just a business venture. It was a tribute to the place that had given her everything. Dollywood became a massive success, attracting millions of visitors each year and providing jobs to the people in the region. The struggles behind the fame. Despite her success, Dolly's life was far from perfect. The demands of her career took a toll on her personal life. Dolly married Carl Thomas Dean in 1966, a quiet man who avoided the spotlight. While Dolly pursued fame, Carl remained in the background, running his business. The couple's marriage was unconventional, with Carl rarely appearing in public with Dolly. Despite this, Dolly always defended their relationship, saying Carl was her rock. But the cost of her success was her personal life. Dolly spent so much time on the road that she often felt like she was married to her career rather than her husband. The loneliness of fame began to weigh on her, and in the mid-1980s, she suffered a devastating emotional breakdown. She struggled with depression, anxiety, and even thoughts of suicide. During one of her darkest moments, Dolly sat alone in her room with a loaded gun, contemplating ending it all. However, in that moment, her dog entered the room and looked at her with innocent love. It was that moment of grace that stopped her from going through with it. Dolly later sought help, including therapy and medication, and gradually began to rebuild her emotional health. A legacy built on resilience. Dolly Parton's journey from poverty to superstardom is a testament to her resilience, determination, and unshakable belief in herself. She has proven time and time again that no obstacle is too great to overcome. From her humble beginnings in the Smoky Mountains to her global success as a singer, songwriter, actress, and entrepreneur, Dolly has shown the world that with hard work, courage, and an unbreakable spirit, anything is possible. Though her success has come with immense sacrifices, Dolly has remained true to herself. She has become not only an icon of country music, but also a symbol of empowerment, proving that it's possible to rise above adversity and make a lasting impact on the world. Her story is one of hope, resilience, and the power of never giving up on your dreams, no matter where you come from.